Well, let's get more on this. I'm pleased to say I'm joined in the studio by Rachel Shabi, a writer and journalist who specialises in the Middle East. Thank you for being with us. There is so much to talk about regarding this story, particularly over the last 24 hours or so. Many people are looking to what the decision has been made by President Morsi, giving the army these new powers of arrest, as a clear indication, a clear sign that we are now going back to the days of the Mubarak era. And actually, people are saying, what revolution? Is that an opinion and an assessment that you hold?
It's not a great situation, is it? I mean, this is the same president that a couple of months ago declared that he had sent the military back to the barracks, that he had restored or initiated civilian rule in Egypt. And now we have this same man imposing effectively martial law on Egypt as a way of passing through a very rushed, badly written and unpopular constitution through a referendum that doesn't give people enough time to really digest what the content of that constitution is. So, and this is the same Muslim Brotherhood, by the way, that were the victims of military rule in the Mubarak era. They were the ones who were imprisoned and persecuted as the opposition. So it's really ironic and disappointing that they would be the ones to reimpose military rule now.
Where has it gone wrong then, do you think, Rachel? Well, what has actually changed? Is it because the speediness of which they're trying to get legislation through means that they're not adhering to the principles? Or is it that the Egyptian people that took part in this revolution were actually duped by President Morsi?
I think that's exactly what people are talking about now, and there's two different strains of analysis. One is that the Muslim Brotherhood are, in a way, sort of institutionally incapable of sharing power. I mean, they've gone back on quite a few of their promises. They said they wouldn't contest all the parliamentary seats, and then they did. They said they wouldn't stand a candidate for president, and then they did. So there is a line of thought that says the Brotherhood as a party doesn't like and isn't able to share power and build consensus. And then there's another strain of people who are saying, well, actually, you know, the Brotherhood, there is a deep state in operation in Egypt that is trying to undermine the democratic process, you know, the Falul, the remnants of the old regime. And that might be true, and that is certainly the case on the streets, but there is also a genuine pro-change protest to Morsi's sort of authoritarian moves, and presumably the way to get rid of the old regime would be to build an alliance or listen to the opposition, as opposed to just tarnish them all with the same brush.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, that we'll see is whether or not that course of action will take place in the coming weeks and months. But I just want to ask you, particularly significant given the fact that we are marking 2 years of the start of the Arab uprisings, there was a wind of change, wasn't there, at the time, when many people were saying this is what the people's voices are being heard in the countries that were taking part in this revolution. Here we are now, looking at Egypt, talking about Egypt, where arguably very little has changed. And actually the democratic process in some of these countries has been very limited. Is that disappointing, or do you think that is to be expected in a natural transition of power?
I think that is to be expected, and it's certainly what the pro-change demonstrators that I spoke with in both Egypt and Tunisia were saying. Even at once they managed to oust unpopular regimes, they did predict that it would take a long time and it would be very protracted and difficult, and now we're seeing just how difficult it is. But at the same time, there has been a real revolutionary change in these countries. I mean, we see people who are prepared to protest and fight for their democratic rights. We see people who know exactly what the conditions of an IMF loan agreement in Egypt mean, and do want to debate the finer details of a constitution. Now, this is a sort of political empowerment that any country would be proud of, and that is a big change.
OK, appreciate you joining us and for the insight. Rachel, thank you so much. Rachel Shabi there.